If you're thinking about buying the Behringer Pro Vs, a 4-voice hybrid synthesizer module promising 16-vector oscillators, analog low-pass filter, sequencer, and wavetable synthesis for just around $119, stay right here. Because I've dug deep into this synth, and here's what surprised me. While it boasts specs that sound like a dream for synth lovers, there's a clunky side you absolutely need to know about before hitting that buy button. Most people rave about its sound palette and versatility, but what if I told you its workflow might just drive you a little crazy? And no, it's not just user error. There's a legit few quirks that could make or break your creative flow. So stick around, because by the end of this review, you'll know exactly who this synth is for, what you can expect, and whether it's worth your hard-earned cash, or better yet, if there's something else that deserves your attention instead. Let's break down the Behringer Pro Vs because it's built on some serious tech. It's a hybrid synth, which means it merges analog and digital elements. This translates into 16-vector oscillators across 4 voices, plus an analog low-pass filter, sequencer, arpeggiator, and envelopes for the filter, amplifier, and oscillator. You get wavetable synthesis, a feature often only found in pricier synths, combined with sync-in capabilities which can keep your beats tight. For $119, that's a tempting package. But is it truly delivering where it counts? Before you even fire it up, remember this. The interface is minimalistic to a fault. If you're used to the tactile feel of big knobs and flashy LED screens, preparation for some button diving is required. This is not your grandpa's Minimoog. It's stripped down, almost Spartan in appearance, which might work great for purists but could slow down your workflow otherwise. Now, here's where the plot thickens. Users on Amazon give it a solid 4.6-star rating, which sounds great, until you dig into the comments. Many praise its sound and flexibility, but complain about the user interface and patch creation process. It's one of those synths that sound better in your head than it feels in your hands initially. So if you're a beginner, brace yourself. Learning curve alert. It's not impossible to master, but it's definitely not plug-and-play. Think of it like learning to ride a bike with square wheels. You can do it, but why suffer unnecessarily? But let me share a hot tip. If you're a sound designer who loves tweaking deep parameters and doesn't mind spending time with menus, you might actually thrive here. This is where the Pro V shines. Its hybrid architecture and vector oscillator banks give you a playground for creativity that few synths at this price point offer. I want to pause here and ask, you are looking for a synth that's compact but packs a punch for live gigs, home studio, or even jazzing up your next electronic track, right? Stick around, because the next section uncovers some impactful workflow issues. Ideas that made me think, hold on, is this synth really designed for musicians, or just the tech geeks behind the scenes? The sequencer and arpeggiator, for example, sound like the dream team for building evolving patterns. Yet in practice, setting them up can feel like solving a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded. Not a deal breaker, but definitely a nuisance in a fast-paced creative session. Here's a mini spoiler. Once you get past the learning curve, those same features let you compose some seriously unique sounds. Speaking of unique sounds, did I mention the wavetable synthesis? That's not a common sight in budget synth modules, and it adds a much-needed modern edge. The Pro Vs lets you morph between waveforms in real-time vector style, creating pads and textures that feel alive and constantly moving. And here's a big but, the vector joystick is tiny, almost microscopic for people with bigger fingers. So expect some finger gymnastics. It's functional but not the most ergonomic design choice. Also, the materials used feel budget-friendly. Not in a bad way, but if you're the type who loves to bounce synths off walls, this may not be the synth for you. It's lightweight and portable, but handle it with care. The reviews mention a few reports of button responsiveness degrading over time, which is a shame in such a promising little beast. Okay, let's return to who the Behringer Pro Vs is really for. If you're a bedroom producer hunting for a cheap, versatile synth to expand your sonic arsenal without emptying your wallet, this synth could fit the bill perfectly. It's also great for experimental musicians who enjoy deep tweaking and don't mind digging through menus and papers. Yes, I mean the manual. It's your best friend with this synth, trust me. However, if you're a live performer in need of instant results or a beginner who just wants plug-and-play vibes, this synth might frustrate you more than it inspires. And that's a crucial distinction. Buying it thinking it's a beginner-friendly board and then battling with its cryptic interface is like buying a salad expecting a burger. Sure, it's healthy stuff, but not quite what you signed up for. Time for a little story. I handed my Pro Vs to my friend, a professional synth player who swears by classic analog gear. He was intrigued but skeptical. Within minutes, he was asking why it didn't have more knobs and a bigger display. 2 hours later, after wrestling with the menus, his tune popped with a layered, spacey vibe that honestly blew me away. But his takeaway was clear. It's a synth for people willing to get their hands dirty, not just push buttons to get instant gratification. If you're that type of producer who sees value in the journey, you'll love this journey's destination. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. The Behringer Pro Vs has a few glaring problems. Besides its fiddly interface, the tiny joystick isn't exactly fun. The curse of vector synthesis is it demands precision, and the hardware doesn't quite back it up. Plus, the enclosure feels a bit too plastic-y for serious touring. The LCD display is small and not backlit, which under low-light performance can be frustrating. And some users report occasional latency issues, which can be a nightmare for tight sequencing. But hold on, none of this breaks the synth. It's all fixable with patience and a good setup. On the bright side, the sonic capabilities are genuinely impressive. Vector synthesis combined with analog filters gives you rich, lush tones that many synths twice or thrice the price struggle to replicate. The mini-modular approach means you can patch sounds live, morph vector positions, and integrate CV and sync features into your setup. For creative-type synth heads, this is like having a compact sound lab in your hands. Plus, at only $119 on Amazon, it's one of the best value propositions for what it offers. And yes, I'll tell you where to get the best price in a moment. Alright, quick joke break before I lose you to synth jargon. Why don't skeletons play synthesizers? Because they don't have the guts to face the interface. Okay, back to business. Another point to consider is the community. Behringer gear always comes with passionate users online, which means plenty of tutorials, patches, and mods to enhance your Pro V's experience. That support can be a lifesaver when you hit those confusing moments. But beware, some DIY mods require soldering, a step up from simply turning knobs, and not everyone wants their synth to look like a science experiment gone rogue. Now, I promised a twist, right? Here it is. Despite its quirks and issues, the Behringer Pro Vs can be a jaw-dropping piece of gear for the right user. It's not for everyone, and it's certainly not a plug-and-play miracle machine. But if you're passionate about sound design and willing to invest time learning its ins and outs, it pays you back in spades. Imagine creating those lush, morphing pads and aggressive leads with an analog heart and digital brain combo. That's where it shines. Plus, think about the portability. You can toss it in your backpack, head to anywhere and still jam away. Here's another joke just because I care. How do you organize a space party? You plan it. And the Pro Vs will definitely help you plan out some out-of-this-world sounds for your next track. So should you buy it? If budget is tight, and you're willing to wrestle with a quirky interface in exchange for a hybrid synth with serious sound design chops, absolutely yes. But if instant simplicity and robust hardware are must-haves, better hold off or look elsewhere. There's a sweet spot here that depends on your experience level and workflow preference. And it's worth noting, after spending time with it, I began to appreciate the depth this little synth offers, quirks and all. The Behringer Pro Vs isn't perfect, but it's a gateway to creative sound possibilities that bigger, pricier synths sometimes can't match due to complexity. Final quick joke for good measure. What did the synth say to the noisy guitarist? Stop fretting over me. Okay, back to reality. If you're convinced and want the best deal, check the link in the description for the current Amazon price. It's often discounted, making it an even more compelling purchase. Go in with eyes wide open and prepare to explore sonic horizons that blend vintage warmth and digital innovation. Your tracks will thank you. So yeah, that's the honest scoop on the Behringer Pro V's, quirks, glory, and all. Happy synth hunting.